Running Sentences presents Work, Work, and More Work. Part 7. What the hell? More questions come to this secret group. It's now all about improving morale and now trying to resume its job. Though, the three don't really know what's going on anymore. This story was written and narrated by Michael Honoré. It is a work of fiction, so any named characters, businesses, events, and situations within this story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and fictional businesses, characters, events, etc., and so on is purely coincidental. Copyright 2025, Michael Honoré. All rights reserved. Bruno's jaw had fallen open. He wasn't entirely sure where it was at the moment. Somewhere between the floor and closed was his best guess. It didn't really matter that much, but he hated that it was going on and it had stopped him from asking the obvious question as this meeting room fell into silence at the sight of what had just happened. "Jess, why are you here?" "They won't let me go, Lindsay." What do you mean? How can they not, after all they went through, to just get rid of you?" "A lawyer, my lawyer, visited me this morning explaining that until everything is sorted out, I actually have to work." "No more half-assing things, then?" "I do my work until someone says otherwise. That's what I've always done. Just not entirely to spec, I suppose, or as speedily as some might want." "Lindsay? Now, where have we gotten so far on this assignment, since that's the most important thing?" "Not very fucking far," Bruno announced. We're also afraid that we will be losing our job shortly, so we haven't really been working," Lindsay added and swept her hand about the work that had been accomplished. The whiteboard read much the same as it had since the brainstorming session. Bruno turned to look at it as well, since he no longer wanted to see Jess. There was something wholly annoying about the fact that he was back, but it also could be a case of him about to lose his job. There was just nothing sat right about this. It wasn't fair. We got stuck on the single idea of helpfulness. "Oh, well, what about it, Bruno?" "It's become Bruno's driving motto, Jess. We were going to use it to say that everyone could be helpful or something like that. We didn't get very far, though." "Okay, well, that's something, I guess." There was a moment's pause as they all gathered themselves, and then Bruno decided he had enough of this quiet. "What was your old job here?" Before all of this happening, and, as an original person who worked here, I was in ideas and helped found the company until it got sold to an investment bank." "Why was it sold, Jess?" "As far as I can tell, the higher-ups ran out of money, leaving it high and dry. In swept some investors to hold it over until someone else could buy it for a nice price. Or that's at least what I assume." "And you stuck around all of this?" "It was my baby at the time, Bruno. Getting this company and ideas off the ground and keeping it there was my purpose." "And all of our product lines have changed in that time?" Pretty much. Some of the original ideas of a box that offers a way of releasing pheromones to relieve stress is still around, I think, Lindsay. It was in R&D forever ago. Don't know if it moved on." "Never heard of that project?" Bruno complained. "Yes, well, it was developed and prototyped a bunch of times, but never really went anywhere, as some other products came to fruition and they decided to push those more. Is that what you wanted to know, Bruno?" "And why stick around when things are falling apart?" Lindsay asked before Bruno could answer. "As I said, it's my life's work at this point, and now I have practically nothing to show for all of that effort, but it is what it is, and shall we actually turn our attention to our work instead of grilling me about my former stuff?" "What's the point? They aren't going to give us the funds we need to continue this, Jess." Lindsay had slowly sat up from her chair, looking directly at Jess, and then shifted her attention to Bruno. It caught sight of her doing this and raised a questioning eyebrow that if she had something to say, she should just say it. Though he wasn't entirely sure if that was coming across or not. Our problems are, if Jess is fired, then we can't afford whatever contracts he had. But so far he isn't fired, and has to work, meaning our complaints don't hold water, Bruno. Right, we can freely work with no worries about money, but who knows what the CEO or Mr. Portley will decide on in that moments after our departure. We could still be out of a job. Jess had taken this time, ignoring them, to head over to the whiteboard and pointed towards the words they'd written down. Do you have an idea, Jess? Not a great one, Lindsay, but yes.
Why don't we create a program around these ideas?
What do you mean? They want something more than buzzwords to implement and show that they're making changes. Higher-ups, I mean. Even if they don't intend to actually go through with it, we create a program taking people through the stages of what we would do. It didn't sound right to Bruno, who came charging over to where Jess stood, which was all of a couple of steps. That's the kind of stuff you complained about earlier. Busy work that accomplishes nothing. You'd rather sit around and wait for the axe to fall on your head of your job? If you want to do that, that's fine. If you're seen doing work, it could stave off that sort of thing, though. It was a hard pill for Bruno to swallow, but he then nodded, and they got to working on things. There had been a lot of discussion, some of which Lindsay had not kept up with. Other parts she let fly right on by. In her mind, she was far more worried about having a job in the next few hours or so, and nothing had been said definitely, and no executives had come to tell them to leave immediately. So where did they stand in the end? Lindsay was gripping tight onto the mug of coffee she'd just made in her break room and studied the two other workers here, both men and younger, but with worried expression on their faces. You're Miss Lindsay, right? Yes, I am. Why? We've been hearing rumors with all the execs running around lately. You're close to them, aren't you? Not really, no. They talk to me, but about the project I'm working on. But beyond that, no. Well, that's not what we heard about. She offered a shrug to the second one who had spoken up, and it wasn't her fault that they wouldn't listen to her. I'm sure you've heard plenty of things that aren't true. Like the company running out of money? That one's been going around for a few weeks now. Yeah, something about the investors don't want to fund things anymore because we don't make money, but we make money. All of our projects make money. It's just the higher-ups spend it all before it can be used on better and greater things for the job. All this was interesting and potentially could lead somewhere. I felt like she should move on. Though, for Lindsay, she felt all tied up on what exactly to do now. So, listening was good and could lead somewhere, but it also felt like it was an endless road of nothingness. Do you think the higher-ups are taking everything for themselves and not letting any money trickle back down to the company? That seems rather much, especially since the company would fold in on itself if it took all of the money. She has a point, Jacob. We know at least enough funds come down to keep things flowing, though not particularly well. You know how these places operate on a shoestring budget, cutting here and there until they can't work anymore, Carl. We all see it, and we know it happens. And it's happening. Well, the company is headed for a new direction. Hopefully soon,
Lindsay said, interrupting.
Oh yeah, we have proof of this? Not proof, Mr. Carl, that if I caught your name correctly, but rumors of projects being worked on to improve things around here. Oh, those rumors? Carl, you can't listen to a person who believes in those rumors. Why not, Jacob? It's better than being bitter. We could hope for the best in all things. They never shown us that they want to be the best. The higher-ups, I mean. They've shown to care about the profits that they can have and make sure to maximize that part of things for themselves. Lindsay was nodding along the whole while, sidestepping to get out of there with her cup of coffee. For Jess, ideas usually came pretty easily. They weren't always winners, but they did get the job of keeping things flowing in the right order, mostly, and kept going. Right now, though, staring at the whiteboard and its simple statements, nothing was coming to it. Bruno was right next to him, and they were standing there in the meeting room, their little office of a meeting room, doing much the same thing, as the door flew open and in charged Lindsay. "We have a problem." "With this concept? Yes, we do." "No, Bruno. Actually, yes, potentially now that I've had a moment to think, yes." "Well, what is the issue?"
Jess interjected.
"What if the workers don't buy into your idea because the way things already are? Morale is so low that they won't go along with what you've come up with,"
Lindsay pointed out.
A silence fell over them from Lindsay's statement as they all considered this. No solution coming to his mind right away, all Jess could do was sit down on the table. Instead of the solutions in getting out of this job like he'd planned, he was now staring at endless work that might not ever come out. "Well, our job is to do something." "You didn't want to do anything not that long ago. You just wanted the axe to fall and this to be all over." "Well, I still don't want to work, but I have to since I've been given little choice in the matter,"
Bruno offered as his excuse.
Jess felt himself grimacing at that statement from Bruno. This was the problem that wasn't actually going to be solved. The morass had set in, and once it was there, things didn't feel likely to change. "I have an idea, actually." "How unusual. What is it this time, Jess?"
Lindsay said.
"We make a big show of the changes we want to make, telling people about them, before we hand this plan over so that everyone knows it's coming." There was doubtful looks from both Bruno and Lindsay to his idea. "They won't accept it, the higher-ups. The CEO and the board probably will say no before you even get a word out. They'll say we made promises that we couldn't keep, and therefore cannot trust any offer that we make or accept it, because it won't be the truth,"
Lindsay added to Bruno's comments.
"And then the company's execs just would say, ha ha ha, that was a stupid idea." "No, you two, we dress it up, sell it to everyone as a good idea. Both sides need a win and something to believe in, right?" "Yes, I don't think either the employees nor the top brass want to buy what the other is selling." It was a frustrating situation, and Jess could see that they were quickly sinking into that malaise of not wanting to work because no one was giving an effort and morale was already tanked so low. That had been him after the takeover last time, and now he was trying to get a ride out of it. The whole thing was a massive mess. "We need a way around that, and we need to try, otherwise what have we got?"
Jess tried to explain.
"Not much, and probably not a job either, Jess." "Well, I guess that's true. Both your statements are true,"
Lindsay said.
"Let's think of ways that we could change that. Ways of giving hope to our workers."
Jess explained, but they didn't look like they were buying it.
"Even if they've already been disheartened by the whole thing?" "Yeah,
Lindsay,
the situation is stuck in a loop. You're already sad about work. Work tries to change things, which you think won't work, which then you don't really want to try when the changes do come because why is it worth it? And so on and so forth. It just keeps going around in a loop. You want change, but you can't get change, and then when change is presented, it's not worth it because you don't think it will change anything. You know? What are you even trying to point out, Jess?" "That someone needs to talk to the superiors to try and show them the way things are going." "I think we tried that, Jess." "Yes, it didn't go well, as Lindsay said."
"I see. I will go do something then."
Surprisingly, Jess was shown right into Barley's office. She sat there at her desk, looking worn out and actually piled under papers. It was a bit of an unusual sight in his opinion, since CEOs rarely should be seen working as they already had everything done for them ahead of time. What do you want now?
You and this company have a morale problem, Miss Barley.
Yes, I'm well aware of that. That's why this whole secret program was started. And it's why your secret program will fail. Just explain yourself in clear terms, please. Okay, no one believes in the things you're trying to do. If you want improvements, then you have to make them first, and show that they will be beneficial to your workers and that they will stick around. That's all there is to this, to your grand idea. Yes, Miss Barley, get people to buy into the good things you do, and they will come around. We need to show them the way. Well, I will admit it is a sound idea, but not exactly feasible in our current situation,
Barley said.
What, Portley isn't going to allow it to happen? She sat back in her chair, fixing him with an even stare. He didn't like it, but stood there letting her do her thing. It was no surprise that she didn't like him one bit, not after the other day, yet she seemed to be taking everything in stride now. We've already been over this. Okay, if you don't make a change, then this work will be for nothing, and you'll be throwing away money and then your job, reportedly. Maybe. Portley doesn't want to waste any more money, right?
Jess points out.
He's out of the equation. We merely have ourselves to guide us through this matter. Oh, well, then what are your plans, then? I don't think you actually have the right to know that, Mr. Jess. Bruno does, if he's going to keep this project going, and I, as a worker on it, need to know as well so that we can better formulate our plan to your needs. We work together. She was shaking her head no to him, which was frustrating. If she had something to say, then she should just say it. Any answer would be more helpful than wandering around, hinting at things and shaking their head no. But this was what he was getting. You will be informed when the time is right that everything will work, okay? No, not really. If you want things to move forward like you said, then we need to know sooner rather than later. I felt that the project needed more time to bring things into focus. It appears you're making great strides coming to me with these ideas, but I need more, the board needs more, and everyone needs more. More of what, Miss CEO? More of everything, of course. Just saying ideas and how to implement them will not get us very far in the long run. You just need more.
Jess asked, confused.
Much more. Many more ideas or whatever else you come up with. Now, it is getting late in the day and I have lots of work to tend to. Please leave. Jess frowned to himself, but turned and walked out the door. For Lindsay, arriving at the office the next morning felt like business as usual. Yet her mind told her that wasn't really possible as she strolled into the meeting room office area they had. Jess had informed them yesterday that Portley was out of the picture, but now, being sucked into the political whirlwind of businesses, something told her that simply wasn't completely possible. Surprisingly, she was the first of their group to arrive as a janitor was finished sweeping up. Oh, I'm sorry, do you need me to get out of the way? No, almost done here. What are you lot up to anyway?
The janitor asked.
Improving morale. Isn't it obvious with the words we have up on the board? The man didn't bother looking at that and kept sweeping around towards the door, finishing up. To me, no. I'm not paid enough to worry or figure out what this business is up to. Keeping it clean is my worry. Yes, I guess that, and thank you for reminding me. But, before you do leave, if you had a say in improving our company and its workflow, what would you say? He looked up and stared at her blankly, causing her to pause and reconsider what she was saying. What would you say would improve things for you and your fellow workers? Well, that's a lot of things to different workers. Can't exactly answer for them now, can I? How about you? What would you improve here? The janitor began tapping at his foot as he thought for a good long minute. What I need is better supplies and better support for my job. I rarely get any time off, or even if we do, it's usually we're on call instead of truly resting up. Do you know how hard it is to keep a building like this clean with tired janitors? I was not aware of any of that, no. Of course not. Why would you care about someone below you? I apologize, Mr. Janitor. We're trying to improve that. The door now opened again, and in walked a tired-looking Bruno, yawning and fighting off his sleepy state with a cup of coffee. She glanced at him as he patted his way past her and the janitor to his usual spot. Morning. Bruno, we have a guest who we can talk to, Lindsay said. Really? What about? Improving things? With a tired look, Bruno now glances up as he gets to his seat and falls into it. He looks to her, blinks, and then over to the janitor, who gave a jiffy little wave, hello. Instinct looked like it took over for Bruno as he waved back and then talked to Lindsay. You're changing your tune from yesterday when you were depressed about all this work. A new day, a new perspective, and well, I feel like I should at least try, right? If things do go badly, we did make promises and we can try and deliver on those. As if they'd keep them. Jess walked in and slid into a nearby seat. Mr. Janitor, you've been talking to Lindsay about what you need to make you happy here at work? That's the gist of what I got and heard. Yep. Thank you for your assistance on that matter. Have you gone back to being negative about all of this, Jess? No, I'm just realistic after my talk with Miss Barley about how things are going to go. I'm still willing to try this out, and, well, it's kind of a good idea, I guess. Can I go, now? You got what you want, right? You want it, right, Miss Lindsay? Yes, I suppose you're free to go. Sorry for delaying you from your work. No problem. Happy to be of some help to you lot. But remember us little people when you do finish up whatever this is. With that last little piece of sage advice, the janitor departed. It took a few moments of silence, and Lindsay found herself biting her lip, thinking over those last few words. I've had an idea. You wish to talk to more workers about what they want and that would make them happy? Yes, I'm a bit sad that you've managed to have that same thought, Lindsay said to Jess. Don't fret it, your quizzical look gave it away. It's a grand idea, but, Lindsay... But what, Bruno? Will anyone actually talk to us, or will the bosses even approve of such a move? I don't think they need to approve it, Bruno, but, you're the head of this operation. It's your call on how to spend our budget and our time, but incentivizing talking to us would certainly go a long way to getting answers, Jess interjected. So now we're bribing our workers, Jess? Unless you got a better idea, Lindsay, yeah, giving them something for their time and effort will certainly, probably help us. She nodded yes as she thought that through. It was too true that they would need something to lure people here to talk to them, especially after hearing so much groaning, even from themselves, about making changes. Fine, I can agree with that. We need bribes. What do you say, Bruno? We don't have the funds for it. We do have some, though. Not really, Jeff. What we have has already mostly been spent on keeping us employed. How have we actually spent money? All we did was read reports on what companies are doing. Well, Lindsay, we weren't given that much to begin with, and most of what it all has done to is our salaries. Lindsay found herself falling into her nearest seat and just relaxing for a moment. The more she seemed to try, the less things seemed to work out. Really, they should just give up, since they were all being set up to fail in the first place.
Lindsay thought, and then she was interrupted by Jess's words.
Okay, so we have nothing, and the company will soon have nothing to show for this project. Yep, yes, yep, yada, whatever you want to say. That is the way things are going to go. Work on your ideas quietly and to yourself. No more of this talking grand schemes of getting other people to tell us what's wrong,
Bruno said, putting an end to the conversation. Having found his way to the cafeteria, Bruno found himself staring at the dreary room that the company had provided for the workers if someone decided that they would rather not go out for lunch.
It was a rarely visited space by most workers unless they were really desperate, and even then, it wasn't actually a cheap option. He found himself here because of that stupid idea that Lindsay had come up with, had now stuck in his head, and now he felt like he had to talk to some workers and see what they said. He hoped this wasn't about to blow up in his face, but was also ready for it as he approached the lunch worker who was scooping food onto plates. "What can I get for you?" "Well, what do you have?" "Meats, veggies, some sort of dessert that looks like apples, I think." The worker poked at sauce-looking stuff. It was brown, beige, had lumps in it. "Well, that's not very specific, sir." "I would do that being specific thing, but what I'm told is that this stuff is meat, this stuff is veggies, and this goopy-looking thing is a dessert thing." The worker, named Jack, with a name tag on his shirt, told Bruno, pointed to each item as he said this. No excitement, no joy, just plain old dull facts that had no room for being happy with their work. "Do you want to know more about the foods you work with? Take pride in all of that stuff you do?" Bruno questioned. I'm not sure, really." I don't understand. You don't want to have pride in your work, or you just don't care?" Jack looked down at the slop of the food he had, and then back to Bruno. "How am I supposed to take pride in a menial job?" "You get paid well enough, don't you, right?" "The wage my friends think it too low, and for this type of work, pay is crap, work is crap, and no one ever comes here. So why would I care about any of it?" I see. I guess I'll take whatever is being offered today, then." 3 slops of piles were slapped onto the plate and then handed over to Bruno. He took it and stared at it for a moment before moving on down the line. There, a cashier greeted him, looking about as surly as the last worker. "You got the special? Is there any other order?" "No, none. Just making sure. That'll be $14.50.
The cashier announced.
"Well, that's quite expensive, miss." "It is what it is." Right, okay. Do you enjoy this work?" "For the pay? No. For the work? No. Anything about this place is such a drab down to nothingness that it makes it hard to enjoy." Would you like to see it improved, then?" "Doesn't matter to me, mister. Word around the cafeteria is our days are numbered. Can't be urged to care if that's the case." "And, miss, if I could improve that this isn't happening, Miss Lena, according to your name tag?"
Bruno suggested, hopefully.
"Good luck with that,"
she replied.
It felt like a sucker punch to Bruno. It really felt like he just wanted to help out all of a sudden. But it also felt like there was a general cannot-care attitude throughout the company that wouldn't go away and was now spreading about. "What would you say if I could do that, though? Help out getting better all-around conditions for your workers?" "You mean like a union or something, mister?" No, but potentially, if that's where it leads, then yes." "Well, I look forward to seeing it, but I doubt you can get it to happen here at this company." "And why is that, Miss Lena?" They've never done anything for us since the place got bought. At least that's what I've heard.
Bruno nodded along, resigned with the idea that he wasn't going to get through to this lady, and paid for his meal.
Jess sat unhappily in his chair in the meeting room that they were using as this office space. He'd read through the reports that Bruno had given them about the lunch people in the cafeteria. It didn't fill him with confidence that there was things to be done about any of this. You've been thinking for a while ever since Bruno left to go to that meeting and he gave you that report. So what's on your mind?
A solution that sounds horrible to my mind, Lindsay.
Is it an answer to our problems, though?
It's sort of, I think, or the thought is the way to change things is going to change everything. He looked up at her pained expression on his face and you saw raised eyebrows from her.
Do you mean a whole new company?
I mean, it feels like this place is infected with no care about the company, which, fair enough, but it isn't gonna work.
So you fire everyone?
Unless you can come up with something better, firing everyone pretty much solves all of the issues, Jess explained.
They couldn't just do a name change?
You could do a name change, but you still have the employees who don't want to be here, and without further funding to improve things, no one is going to believe change has actually happened, and the same thing just goes around and around, same problem, until everyone either quits or is fired.
So in this result, your examination of this, everyone loses?
We can't force the company to change, Lindsay, and they don't want to. So what other choice do they have if they want improvements?
We could...
She started to sigh and bit her lip and stared off into the distance. G.S. sat back, folding his arms across his chest as he waited for her answer. It seemed to be taking a moment, and the look she was giving said she was deep in thought about it and wasn't going to come up with much. End of part 7 of Work, Work, and More Work. Thank you for listening.